Hello, space fans, and welcome to the first episode of Spaceflight Weekly, your weekly show for space news. So I'm James, and let's give you a little heads up what we're going to do today. Today we have um, Ultima Thule news. Made the flyby. What'd they get? We'll see. China landed its rover on the moon, on the dark side of the moon specifically. So that's neat. We got all kinds of SpaceX news from fairing recovery to Starship news. So, other than that, we've got some Mars exploration rover news. Mercury, closest planet to the sun, has glaciers. Who would have known? I didn't know. You'll know though. Self-driving robots on Mars. Asteroid flying by Earth. It's got a moon. That's a thing. And NASA is going to test its planetary defense spacecraft they've confirmed. So, all that and more. So, let's just go ahead and get to it. So, let me change this to this. Okay, so New Horizons successfully. This is from the BBC, of course. New Horizons successfully did its flyby of Ultima Thule, or I've heard it's not actually pronounced Thule. It's like Thule, but I'm gonna call it Thule because I don't know how else to say it. Yeah, so flew by it. And it did confirm that it is a double body. We've got a picture here. This is from the, I believe, high resolution black and white camera. So, yeah, it flew by and confirmed that it is a double body. It looks like the two objects came together at very quote unquote low speed, probably between 2 and 3 kilometers per hour. Which is low speed, of course, for orbital mechanics and such. And so they came together and are now one object named Ultima Thule. One is named Thule, one is named Ultima. About 21 miles long on its longest axis. Small, it's icy. But yeah, so bunch of other stuff we learned about it. It's very dark. Its brightest areas reflect just 13% of the light, and the darkest are about 6. But so it's similar to potting soil, and that comes from Kathy Olkin. She is the mission's deputy project scientist from the Southwest Research Institute. It does have a tinge of color. They had a rough estimate of what the color was going to be from Hubble, but now they can say that it is red. In fact, there is a picture here. Where is it? This is the so this is the reflections, where you've got the dark and the not so dark areas there. Okay, and here's so this was taken by the instruments on New Horizons, and here we have the color of it, but that's a very obviously low resolution image. So NASA's combined it with the high resolution black and white to give us an approximation of what it actually looks like color wise. Pretty interesting stuff there. Yeah, so the red is irradiation of exotic ices. I mean, the surface has been burnt over eons by high energy cosmic rays and X-rays that flood from space. So yeah, I mean, really neat stuff. It's going to take, data is now trickling in, but it is going to take a full 20 months before all the data is transmitted back to Earth from New Horizons. So that's really cool. I mean, the really impressive part about this is New Horizons was launched on its original mission to Pluto, which, when it was launched, was still considered a planet, not a dwarf planet. In the time that it is launched, Pluto has been reclassified as a dwarf planet, and Ultima Thule was discovered. Whenever they were planning the mission, NASA was like, okay, we want to go to Pluto, and then after that, we want to go into the Kuiper Belt. But we're just going to have to wait and see if anything's out there for us to actually target. And so that's what happened. They discovered Ultima Thule, and we're able to swing the mission that way. Just so cool. So cool. So next up, get this to work, is this comes from the GB Times. So China's, I believe it's pronounced Chang'e-4 spacecraft has made its descent from lunar orbit onto the pre-selected landing area within the von Karman crater at 2:26 Universal Time Thursday, which was around 10:26 Beijing time. So yes, it landed, and we've got the first ever pictures. Oh, wait, that's not right. Yeah, the first ever images from the surface of the far side of the moon. So this is the far side of the moon, and that's a rover on the far side of the moon. How cool is that? I mean, you know, I know the humans have been to the moon, and we've sent probes to the moon and all this, but this is the first time on the dark side, place that we've never been. We photographed it, but we've never actually been there, and China did it. And I mean, you might say, well, what's so big about that? I mean, we've literally set foot on the moon, and yes, we have, but we wasn't there long, wasn't there very often. And the dark side of the moon has a lot of really cool a lot of cool, not chances, but opportunities for us, for like telescopes. So radio and optical telescopes. If we had a outpost on the moon, or even just a robotic science laboratory on the moon that had either a radio or a optical telescope, on the dark side of the moon, we wouldn't have a lot of interference from the Earth. You know, the moon would block, obviously, the light coming from Earth, and it would also block the radio signals coming from Earth. So that's really cool. But anyway, so yeah. Anyways, so the spacecraft landed on the moon, and then 12 hours later, the rover, which is called U-22, I think, descended from atop the lander. And it's going to analyze variations of the composition of the soil, lunar soil, with the visible and near infrared imaging spectrometer. And it's also going to give us a bunch of pictures with its panchromatic camera. So it's really neat. And I mean, this might be what we need, because a lot of governments don't see a point in going to the moon for whatever reason. And hey, if they're up there doing science, that's great. Okay, so next thing is, I'm just going to lump this all in. We have some SpaceX news to get to. So if you follow his Twitter, Elon Musk showed a illustration of what Starship will look like when it's finished. Obviously it will have windows and other things, but yeah, so this is it, and I love it. It's so Buck Rogers, and it's just so just SpaceX, you know, this stainless steel skin, just the American flag on it. I really hope that they don't put a lot of lettering on it, because just it by itself, just the American flag, stainless steel bullet, basically, it looks so cool. It looks so cool. Also though, so SpaceX is right now building what they call the Starship Hopper, which is going to be a test vehicle. And it's been sited with 3 Raptor engines. So And is this the article? Oh, and the last one was from Twitter. This one is from Teslarati. Is this the one that it talked about it? Yes. Okay, so the Raptor engines are dual bell, and what that means is that they can get. It's kind of a way of getting both sea level and vacuum efficiencies out of one engine. So, at sea level, it uses, like, I'll say the first bell. Vacuum, it uses the second bell. More efficient. It's good. Blah, blah, blah. And it's going to do, it's going to perform a number of hop tests, which is just where it launches, goes up, and then lands again. It's not going to space or anything. It'll just go up. I think they quoted a few kilometers at the most. I don't remember where I said that, but that's what I'm gonna say. But yeah, so gonna be neat. They're going to do tests. They say when they're going to do tests. I don't think they did. If they did, I didn't put it in my notes. But yeah, so Raptor engines again neat stuff from SpaceX. SpaceX and Elon Musk just always pushing the envelope on this kind of shit. You had told me 10 years ago that SpaceX and was going to have reusable rockets and launch a car into space and then start the spaceship thing, I wouldn't have believed you. I wouldn't have believed you at all. So, more SpaceX news. And I think a lot of people are taking this out of context. So, Elon Musk tweeted out, where does it say it specifically? Basically that, so SpaceX is going to have a demo flight. It's like a month away. And they're going to launch a crewed Dragon capsule. Well, it's the crewed version of Dragon, but it's not going to have any crew in it, to the ISS, as a test. Make sure everything works, boilerplate test. This is normal stuff. And Elon Musk basically was like, yeah, this is going to be, very dangerous. And a lot of people are like, well, he doesn't have much faith in his design. And that's not it. I mean, look, all spaceflight is dangerous. It's dangerous as hell. I mean, you're sitting on a rocket, one thing of like 10 million goes wrong and you're in a lot of trouble. So, but yeah, I mean, official, so, we'll see, but so officially though, NASA is saying that it's going to be the January 17th is when they're going to launch this. But of course, there's a government shutdown right now, so like nobody actually knows when it's going to be. Plus, I mean, SpaceX has, the joke name of Delay X, which again, I mean, spaceflight is dangerous, rather delay than, lose a rocket or potentially lose human lives. I don't think it's going to be January 17th. I'm probably, if I was a betting man, I would say that this flight will probably take place in February. But what do I know? Anyways, so yeah, basically spaceflight is dangerous, but Elon Musk and NASA are gonna go through it anyways. So, okay, let's see. So that's that. Okay, so we have some news, a little bit of news. It's not anything groundbreaking, but we do have a little bit of news from the Mars exploration rovers. And this comes from the Planetary Society. So, of course, in June 10th of last year, Opportunity, one of the Mars exploration rovers, went down because there was what is quoted as being called the mother of all dust storms came through. And NASA hasn't been able to contact again. Of course, this is a solar powered rover. So, leading theory is that the solar panels are just, they got dust on them and just doesn't have enough power to come up. Um, no real news. It hasn't come back, but the team handling them are still optimistic that it could. Um, I mean, even, this isn't the moon, so basically, even though there is dust on these solar panels, Mars does have a very thin atmosphere and potentially could, you know, basically just dust the solar panels off enough to get a signal from Opportunity. So that'd be neat. Opportunity is way past its shelf date by this point. I mean, I think that it was originally meant to be used for 90 days, and I mean, what, years? So, you know, that's good. I mean, you know, good luck to the guys, men and women, out there who are in the mission, who are trying to, contact it again and get it working again. Um, I mean, those rovers were just really big. Bang for the buck, I'll say, in terms of space exploration. So that's cool. Okay, so next up is, if I can get my stuff here, and this is really surprising to me. There's apparently glaciers on Mercury. I mean, Mercury in daytime, it's over 800 degrees Fahrenheit, but it's got glaciers. So basically, what's going on is, um, water ice appears to have been accumulating on Mercury through comets. Comet comes by, gets trapped in Mercury's gravity well, and it just crashes into Mercury. Now you've got some water ice. So even though that Mercury is so hot, because it has no atmosphere, and some of these craters are deep, particularly at the poles, there are going to be places where ice can accumulate. Because, when the sun's not shining on Mercury, it still gets cold there. And the planet's night side even loses heat very quickly and dips far below freezing. So it's kind of like if you've ever been in the desert, at night. In the daytime it's very hot in the desert, but at night it gets very cold because, for one thing, the soil just doesn't hold the temperature, and for another thing, it just, if the sun's not being down on it, it just loses its temperature so quickly and it gets cold. So same thing happens on Mercury. Surprising thing to me is it could be up to 164 feet thick in some areas. I mean, that's a lot of water ice. Will it be useful to us? I don't know. I mean, getting to Mercury and getting off of Mercury is, you got to fight against gravity well of the sun. But hey, it's interesting. There could be water in places where we never even thought of looking for water. I would have never thought to look for ice on Mercury because it's so hot. But hey, turns out, yeah, ice on Mercury. Neat stuff. So, oh, and that was reported by, did I say that already? But that was reported by astronomy.com. I got another one from astronomy.com here, if I can remember how to work things. So, if I can spell, there we go. So, self-driving rovers on Mars. So a team in the UK basically has figured out a way to, or they've got a test mule of a rover, which I believe that's it right there, that has self-driving capabilities. And they want to be able to put this onto other, Martian rovers, right? Why is this such a big deal? Okay, so the way, if I'm not mistaken, there are two main ways to drive the rovers right now. And the first one is direct control, where you tell the rover, go forward, go back, turn, whatever. Problem is that it takes about 8 minutes each way for commands and communications to travel to and from Mars. So you tell the rover, gas, you'll just watch your screen for 16 minutes, and after 16 minutes, the rover will finally start moving forward. Problem is, of course, that during that 16 minutes, if you've still been sending that, hit the gas command, by the time you're watching it, that rover is 16 minutes ahead of you, however fast it's going. So obviously, that's not a great way to control a rover. I mean, if I play a racing video game, I don't want 2 seconds of lag, or I don't want, a millisecond lag for my controls. But 16 minutes? Yeah. So that's one way they do it. Another way they can do it is they can tell the rover, basically go forward, 10 feet, stop, turn to the left, go forward 5 feet, stop. And that works fine. But for one thing, you have to judge your distances very well. Another thing, you can only go as far as you can see. And I mean, the resolution of like the main cameras are pretty low, so you gotta be very careful about where you're going, because something that looks like a rock could be a shadow, or a shadow could be a rock, vice versa. You don't want to, these rovers are extremely fragile, especially because there's no AA on Mars. You bust a tire, if you bust a wheel, man, it's done. I mean, there's some things that can be done, but yeah, you just don't want to do that. So yeah, so self-driving rovers on Mars could be a big deal, because now, you don't have to give the commands. You can just tell it, hey, I want you to go to this area, and it figures out where the rocks are, where craters are, where mountain, hills are, stuff like that, and it will determine the best way to get there. So, and I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, just think about it. Why would you want to control this thing, light minutes away, when it can just kind of control itself? So yeah, self-driving Mars rovers. So man, why didn't Elon Musk think of that? Come on, Musk. I mean, I'm pulling for you, man, but come on, you gotta do it. This is SpaceX news again. I'm not even gonna change the thing because this will be pretty quick. Basically, SpaceX tested. They're trying to catch Falcon fairings again. They hauled one up in a helicopter, and the boat called Mr. Steven. He almost caught it. I mean, neat. They're getting better. They want to make basically everything they can reusable on these rockets. So that's cool. That comes from Tesserati. Next up is, I hate CNET so much. I wish I could have found a better thing. And it's going to start playing an ad. How do I close you? Don't know. How do I exit? I've gone wrong. No more. Okay, no more CNET articles on this. Anyways. Let me change my discussing thing here. So yeah, an asteroid has a moon. So asteroid 2016 AZ8 made its nearest swing by of our planet in the 21st century on Monday. And as it was, approaching, astronomers were able to take a close look at it. Radar images of the rock acquired using the huge Arecibo Observatory in Puerto Rico, which you might know from the movie Contact, or a James Bond movie, one of them. Yeah, it's a big ass dish in Puerto Rico. Anyways, this asteroid, it's actually a binary system. It's got an asteroid, and there's like a small boulder that's orbiting it, which is kind of neat. If I'm not mistaken, this is the first time that we've seen something like this up close. I mean, the boulder is very small, so the large asteroid could be 420 meters, which is 1,378 feet for us Americans, in diameter, which would be about as wide as the Pentagon headquarters, bigger than the Great Pyramids of Giza. And the moon satellite circling it at a distance of about 400 meters is estimated to be 180 meters or 591 feet. Don't worry, it's not going to hit the Earth. at least now, maybe in a couple centuries, but you know. But yeah, so that's really neat. And here's the actual radar images from it. And that's your big one right there. And then there's your little bitty guy, which I say a little bitty. What I say he was 591 feet wide. I mean, that's still pretty big. But yeah, so neat stuff. I mean, you know, last year they did surgery on a grape. This year, there's an asteroid has a moon. You know, so that's neat stuff, man. And then the next one is, and this is kind of relevant. NASA is going to conduct a test of its planetary defense spacecraft. So, in the next couple of years, because of course, NASA being NASA, it's going to take a while. NASA is going to do not only one, but a double asteroid redirection test. And it's going to be headed towards the Didymos, I'm going to say that's pronounced, asteroid. And basically all this is it's a small probe, and they're going to launch it, and it's going to burn towards the asteroid, and using very precise maneuvers and positioning data, it is going to hit the asteroid to hopefully redirect it. So yeah. And this also has a moonlet, just like the other asteroid. So this one is approximately 800 meters across for the main body, and then the moon is 150 meters across. And so yeah, basically they're just going to come up to it. They're going to hit it, going approximately 6 kilometers per second, and redirect it. Now, of course, this is going to be close to Earth. It's going to be 11 million kilometers from Earth, which, I mean, that's pretty far away. And they're just going to hit it, and they're going to see if they can redirect it in a, specifically though, in a trajectory that they want. So this is just a dry test for, you know, hey, oh shit, there's an asteroid coming towards Earth. What do we do? Well, hopefully with this, we'll know. We can just hit it with something, because you don't want to blow it up. You know, you don't want to go full Michael Bay and nuke it, because if you do that, it's basically a shotgun coming towards you. So yeah, so that's neat. It's also going to utilize the NASA Evolutionary Xeon Thruster Commercial, or NEXT-C, solar propulsion system. And so they're hoping to launch it by late December 2020 through May of 2021. So, you know, about a year from now, give or take a few months. But yeah. Oh, and here's a here's a gift from Independence Day, the new terrible one. I don't know. Anyways, so that came from Interesting Engineering. And I do believe that that's all the news that I have today, guys. So I want to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed it, I would like you to subscribe if you want to. Maybe even hit that bell. That way you'll be notified. All the YouTubers say the stuff you already know what I'm saying. Anyways, guys, I do want to appreciate you watching. And fly safe.